Three, two, one. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Voices of the Fraternity. We are back once again with another series. And for the month of March, we will be looking at medical doctors, rather following the journeys of those who have pursued becoming a medical doctor. So hope you enjoy this series. And to start it off, we are sitting with Dr. Zama Dlamini Manana.
Yes. Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for allowing us to share your story. To start off, just an icebreaker. What's your worst or the module you did not enjoy at all at medical school?
It was surgery, definitely. Because I'm not a surgeon, guys. Like the whole theater thing, and it's not my vibe. No. Like I want to talk.
And at what year do you
people.
do surgery?
So you start clinical blocks, if I remember well, in third or fourth year. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, around about that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at that stage, you already knew that that's not where I'm going.
Yeah. I think by the time I was in fourth year, when we had to do I think we did neurology and we did a bit of the brain, then I was like, this is what I want to do. So, yeah.
And your favorite? I guess you
course,
have.
Psychiatry. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
For the viewers at home, you are Dr. Zama Dlamini Manana.
Yes.
But you are in specialization, right?
Yes, yeah.
Please tell us what you are currently doing. What specialty are you specializing in?
So I'm currently specializing in the field of psychiatry. I'm training to become a psychiatrist. So I'm at the near end of my journey.
Sure.
Just writing exams and finalizing a few things with my Masters of Medicine, which is my MMed. And so hopefully in the next few months, I will be a psychiatrist.
Full blown.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to get into that. I just wanted the people to know what kind of a doctor we're dealing with today.
Yeah.
Growing up, what did that look like? And where is Zama from? What does family look like growing up for Zama? And we'll stop there.
Okay. So I grew up in the Kingdom of Eswatini. That's where I was born. That's where literally I spent most of my life. And I came to South Africa to study when I came for university. So all I know is Swaziland. That's what I grew up with. And I come from a family, very close-knit family. I'm the firstborn of 3 siblings. I have a younger sister and a younger brother. And both of my parents are still at home. They are retired, but they are currently doing other things. My mom is a nurse. She was a nurse for as long as I was alive, so over 30 years.
Sure.
Until she retired the year before, 2023. And my dad has worked in insurance also as long as I've been alive, also retired. So you could say maybe the fact that my mom was in that field influenced, I don't know, maybe not.
The unconscious
still out
influence.
There. What I do know, though, is that she wasn't very pro me being in the medical field.
Oh,
I think, specifically doing medicine. I think maybe it's because of the hours that she worked, and maybe she felt like,
it's not worth it.
Yeah, don't do that. But I mean, I insisted and I'm here, So my siblings and I we've always been close. I think we're closer now as we are older. And I think because we've also chosen, more than being siblings, we're also in each other's lives actively. So we have a friendship,
Beautiful.
Which I think is also a very huge anchor for me, just knowing that the people who know you the most are the people that you grew up with. So even having them in your corner is, really amazing. But I think growing up, there was always that pressure of, you're the older one. You kind of have to do the right thing, say the right thing all the time, be accountable for your siblings. You didn't ask for it, but now you're the deputy parent. So I think all of those dynamics were at play. And it's only looking back now when I'm older, I'm just like, I don't know if we should be encouraging firstborns to be deputy parents.
Is it?
Because it creates this perfectionism, trait in you that is not healthy, because also not just perfectionism, but also you want to make sure that everything is fine all the time at your
Sure.
own expense, which is detrimental also nje for your health, because you can't always be the savior all the time. But just because of the setting that you grew up in, where you kind of had to forego your own needs and wants because of
And do
your
you think
siblings.
it just happens automatically? Or is there something that
I
parents do?
I think it's something parents do. I think it's automatic for them. Obviously, because I'm sure they would also say that you are a lot harder on your firstborn because this is your first child. Like, you kind of are figuring things out.
True.
By the time the second one comes, you're a bit chilled, even in the career path that my siblings and I chose. Like, my sister is a developmental specialist with the UN. My brother's a professional golfer. Like, how did we get there?
From medical doctor to a
for
professional
them to even
golfer.
consider,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, go do it, go play golf, So it's that way. It's like, as I guess as they feel like they're more experienced in the parenting, they're like, nah, it's fine. They're a bit more chilled, So I don't think it's automatic for me, but I just think it's what I had to do.
Has that influenced how you parent your children?
It has a lot. I think I've got 2 kids. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. So when I had my son, my firstborn, I was just like, I don't want him to ever feel like he has to be something that he's not, So even now, I'm a lot more conscious. Like, even when I say to him, what Agabu say, what are you doing? I try to make sure that I'm not like, you need to look after your sister. You need to, because your sister's watching you. Like, yes, she may be watching, but you can't put that pressure on him, because then it's like he can't be his own person. He can make his own mistakes, and, just because someone else is looking up to him.
Sure.
So it has influence in that I'm a lot more conscious of, I don't want to parentify him as a firstborn, but also I don't want him to like completely be absolved of the responsibility of being a firstborn. Yeah.
Sure. Now we've gotten into parenting.
So many different directions.
It's fine. How were you as a child at school? So primary school and high school. What was your experience, and what kind of a student were you? Learner. What do they call them when they?
Yeah, a learner student. I've always been an overachiever. And even then, I don't know if it was a conscious thing or if I've just always loved school, But yeah, my sister loves school, like, as in she's like, let's go and do a PhD type. I don't love school like that. Like, I'm just committed to what I'm doing at that time, So I've always, I did my grade 1 at a primary school it's in the town where I grew up in Babane. I've always been quiet. Like, I've always been the quiet child in school, but generally I never struggled with academics. Always top 3, every year. I think the one thing though is I wear glasses, so like my eyesight is terrible.
Same.
So
pretending to be looking at you.
Like at least I put on contacts now, because I really can't see. Like,
you're that bad.
I'm that bad. So when I was in grade 1, my teacher, I remember I used to sit next to the teacher's desk, which was at the back in my school. But then she'd be like, no, man, something is, then she'd move me forward until I was like right at in front of the board.
Yeah.
And then they discovered with my uncle and my parents that I couldn't see properly. Right. But when I look back now, like, also because in my field, we work a lot with children with learning difficulties and all of that. And one of the things that we always ask parents to check for is the eyesight and the hearing. And I'm like, if my teacher hadn't recognized that, I probably would have flunked, and then, it would be like, you don't know what you're doing, then self-esteem on the floor. So I'm forever grateful, that she was able to pick that up. But I started wearing glasses from that age.
From such a young age.
From a very young age. And back then it wasn't like a thing that kids were wearing glasses, So there was also that element, the bullying, being called 4 eyes, all of that, But even then, I've always been withdrawn. Like I've always been very quiet. Obviously, have a few friends in school. Got through primary school, and then I went to high school at Sifunzani High School, and yeah, even high school is pretty much the same. Like I have my friends, but also even then doing the best that I can in academics.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say overachiever, but I've never struggled when it came to academics. Yeah. And I've always known that I want to be a doctor as well.
That was my next question. When did you?
I've always known. I know it sounds very cliche, but I literally have always known that I want to do medicine. I think when I was in high school, though, I tried to convince myself that I don't. And I was like, maybe biomedical engineering. I didn't even know what it was, but I was just like, it sounds cool, And at some point I was like, maybe pharmacy, maybe this, maybe that, until I circled back when it's time to apply. My first choice is medicine.
It was medicine. That's where I'm going.
So yeah.
Okay. No, my question was, did this Zama, who's in glasses and a school uniform, know what she wanted to be? But she was clear.
Yeah. I've always known.
And does the schooling system at the Kingdom of Eswatini work similar to South Africa in terms of you choose subjects at grade 10? And if that is the case, what were your subject choices? Yeah, what does the schooling system look like outside of South Africa?
So in the school that I went to, yes, we would choose subjects. We call it Form 3. Grade 10 is Form 3. Yes, yeah. So we choose subjects when you are in grade 9, going into grade 10. So you'd either go into the sciences stream or you do the accounting stream. And there's also an art stream as well. So like history and art and all of those things, right? So I obviously went into the sciences. So I was doing maths, I was doing physical science. So they combined physics and chemistry.
Yes.
And it was physical science. So because I know that it actually changed in our year. So before it was just pure physics and pure chemistry, but then it became one subject.
Okay.
And then I also did biology as well. And then I did geography because I had to have another subject.
Yes.
And then I did English as a first language, and then I did Siswati as a first language as well.
And how do you choose varsity? What were your influences on where to study?
I just applied. I applied to Pretoria, I applied to Wits, I applied to UCT, and I put my first choice in medicine, and I went where they took me for my first choice, which was Wits University. So I wasn't really very, I wasn't picky on where I wanted to go.
Okay.
My mom didn't want me to go to Cape Town because she felt like it's far. So she already had her own prayer point.
Yeah.
So for me, I just went where they took me for medicine, which was Wits. Yeah.
Okay. And how was the transitioning from one country to another, from high school to varsity? Because we all go through the transition, but I think yours was more.
Yeah, it was a lot, Shame. Firstly, moving, I had never lived outside of home. So unlike my siblings who had gone to boarding school, for their high school, I was just a homebody. So my whole high school life, from the time I was 0 to the time I was 17, I've just lived at home.
Sure.
So that was a bit scary. Not even a bit, it was a lot scary. Secondly, moving to Johannesburg, you all know Joburg as, So now it's just my parents were stressed because they just oh my gosh. I remember before I left, I had family members come to me, they're like, yeah, your parents have tried to give you everything, make sure you don't get there, and then all of these things make you go crazy, all the cars, all the what's what. I'm just like, guys, is it really that bad? Is it, as bad as you say it is?
Yeah.
So it was a very huge transition. And I remember I started class on my birthday, on my 18th birthday, first year of university. So it was just a shocker. And I think also the system, the way that it works, that varsity works in general, it's very different from high school.
Yeah.
Right? High school, you're very sheltered and stuff. Varsity is just this is what you have to do. No one cares if you're there or not, So that transition was tough. It really was hard emotionally. It was hard, academically. It was just where am I? What am I doing? And then what helped though is that some like my best friends, we came to the same university from high school.
Okay.
So that helped a lot.
You already
then
had
at least,
community.
Yes, yeah. So I already had community. So two of my friends that we were in high school with, we came to varsity together, and one of them I was doing medicine with. And then we made new friends as well, like on the first day, in the first week. So that helped a lot to sort of like soften the way that things were,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that really made a huge difference.
And did you stay at Res?
Initially, I didn't get raised because I was on the scholarship from the government of Swaziland, so they paid late. So I think in the first 2 or 3 weeks, I was living in Braamfontein, just outside of Wits. And then I got raised within the first month. And then, yes, I was living in Wits from then on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did that help with just settling in? Because I do know that staying in Res gives you the sheltered feeling, whereas when you stay off campus, you are really on your own.
Yeah. No, it did. It did. I think also just like having the transport system, not worrying about food, because when you live out of Res, you have to think about all of those things. Like, how am I going to get to class? What am I going to eat? All of those things. So I think it made a huge difference. Yeah, it made even like also building community more.
Yeah,
I think because when you're in Res, then you get to see other students who are in your class or in your field, and it also helps you adjust even in that sense,
True.
So it helped.
For myself and those that do not know how medical school works, I heard you speaking about clinical blocks. So I'm like, hey, this is not like a normal degree. We don't have blocks where we come from. You just have a module, you write, you pass.
Yeah.
And medical school is 6 years, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, where did we learn that it's 7 years? Did it change along the way?
I think it did. Yeah, I think it did change. In some universities, it was 7 years until recently. Others, it was 5.
Okay.
But yeah, I think back then it was
7.
Yeah.
Okay. For you, it would have been 6.
Yeah.
What's the structure of being a medical student? What is the module structure, testing, examination? What does that look like?
So, this is me trying to remember because it is quite a few years
Let's go,
back.
girl.
So, first year, you spend it on main campus. So it's almost like you're doing a Bachelor of Sciences. So you do like anatomy, not anatomy, you do physics, and I chose maths. It was either maths or psychology. I don't know why I chose maths. I don't know why I did that to myself. I would not do that again. No. So it's physics, maths. I can't remember what the other subjects were. I don't know if it was chemistry or sociology. I can't remember. But it's just like basic sciences, and you do that on main campus. And then you go into second year. Then now you're in medical school, which is in Parktown. So then you go into now the medical subjects, right? So now in second year, we're doing anatomy, we're doing molecular medicine, we're doing physiology. Can't remember what other subjects we're doing. And then you're writing tests, and then you're passing based on the test that you're writing. And then when you get to third year, if I remember well, then you start doing the system, so the body system. So you do the cardiovascular system, you do the respiratory system, and I think those are 6-week blocks, if I'm not mistaken. And then you write a test of each rotation. If I remember, I can't remember. I may be wrong. But I remember that you did the systems. No, you didn't write tests after the system. You wrote 3 tests or something, testing like the block. So like if maybe you did 3 systems and you write an exam, like that.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
And then when we get to 5th year, so in 3rd year, we start going to hospital once a week. Just to start getting the exposure for hospital.
Is there anything you're doing at hospital, or you shadowing?
No, you're just shadowing.
Okay.
Like you're just there shadowing and looking at how things are done.
Yeah.
That's 3rd and 4th year. Then in 5th year, you then start doing your blocks in hospital. So now you're doing the specialty blocks, so the surgery, pediatrics, internal medicine. So you're spending 6 weeks in each of the specialties. You are learning, but also you are interviewing patients, you're examining, you're learning basically the ins and outs of that specialty, how things are done, you're working. So you even do calls as well.
Okay.
So you're on call in that specific department, and then you have an exam, a clinical exam and a written exam after each block. So after internal medicine on the 5th or 6th week, you then do your exam. Same thing with pediatrics,
Okay.
and the works, yeah. And then when you then get to final year, also the same thing. So it's split between 5th and 6th year, which is a final year. So then that's how it works. And then you get to final year, you have an exam that you write at the end, and then you then graduate.
And how was it graduating? There's a picture of her graduating. How was it finishing? Yeah.
It felt unreal, I think, because it was like, also I graduated in the year when there was Fees Must Fall.
Okay. It was a busy year.
So it was, because our graduation was delayed by I think a week or two, because Fees Must Fall was like towards the end of the year. So it was, even in that way, like we didn't think graduation would happen that year because of everything that was happening with Fees Must Fall. So it really felt unreal. Like it felt like is this really happening? Like, am I finally here at the end of this? It just really, it was, shame. It was amazing, but also just felt like it's not really happening to me. Like I'm gonna wake up like, oh, you were dreaming. So yeah.
And on graduation, you guys are doctors. Like we can call you doctor, or do we only call you doctor after you've done your internship?
No, so when you finish your degree, you're a doctor.
You're a doctor.
And then you then do your 2 years of internship, which is basically working again in the different departments, but now working as a doctor, obviously. Just that you're a junior doctor, so you still need supervision.
Yeah.
And then you do your 1 year of community service, which is when they post you in like more rural areas. You can be in an urban area, but usually they try to put you in the more provincial or district hospitals.
Yeah.
And there is still a bit of supervision, but not much. And you kind of have to put your big girl panties on and, do what needs to be done.
And with being placed at a hospital, so straight from varsity into doing your internship, being someone who is from the Kingdom of Eswatini, did you have any challenges, or it was a smooth, like, did you have any legal requirements that you needed to fulfill before you could actually work in a South African hospital?
As in, you mean for the scholarship or
for now post graduation, going into the work market?
So before I graduated, they were placing foreign students with South African students.
Okay.
And I think in that year when we graduated, they then said they're not going to place them immediately. So in final year, I can't remember which time of the year, but you get to select, or you have 3 choices. You put on 3 choices that you want to work in. You say the hospital, the province, wada. And before, you would get your first choice. They would treat everyone the same. But I think as time went on, obviously posts became more scarce and all of that. So then they would give preference to South African students or South African doctors. So they got placed first. So I only started working around mid-March because we only got our placements in February.
Late. Okay.
And at the time, then I started to apply for a work permit from home, because obviously I can't work without a work permit. So I had to apply for a work permit and wait for I can't remember how long it took for it to come out, and then to come this side and then register and then start working.
Okay.
So that's what I needed to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where did you do your internship?
I was placed in Sebokeng in the Val. So that's where I did my internship.
And how was that experience? How was that 2 years, you said? Nah?
You know what? I don't think I fully remember.
Was it that traumatic?
It was traumatic because of the workload. It's a very, very busy complex. And I don't think the facilities are sufficient, or they can handle that amount of patient load that they have, you know. I mean, if you think back, that hospital was built many years ago, like I think during apartheid times.
Sure.
And the community has grown like a lot more, but it's still the same size. So it was very busy, like it was insane.
Sure.
And some parts of it I genuinely can't remember because I think it was just that hectic.
You're just on work mode. Let's get it done.
Yeah,
Let's keep it moving.
Like sometimes I remember because I had a rotation now where I had to go back to the Val. And I'm like, I lived here for 2 years, but I can't remember. Like, and it's not like it's that long ago. Like it was like in 2016, 2017. But I was like, I lived here. Like I remember driving near the place where I stayed. I'm like, I can't even remember. Because just my mind was just like, we're not gonna put this in memory. Like it's too much.
Cancel
it's okay. You know, it's fine. So yeah, but I must say I learned a lot. Like, I mean, you grow. It forces you to grow so much because it's kind of like now you have to be making decisions on the ground. You have to be, you know, thinking about it, but also discussing with your senior, bouncing off ideas, you know, and you grow a lot, like even if you don't want to, but you do grow like quite a lot just as a person. And even in your career, like in your decision making is like, you know, this is death or life, you know. So yeah, parts of it I remember, other parts I'm just like, I don't know.
And I know there was a time, I'm sure it's still going on, but there was a time where mental health amongst medical doctors was like a spotlight was being shown. I guess
Shone
was being shone on in the medical field.
Yeah.
Would you say you went through anything similar during that time of high pressure?
Not necessarily to that extent, but I think I did have burnout. I think I did have burnout, and I think a lot of doctors would probably agree that at some point in your career you have had some form of burnout. But I think also it's toxic, but also it's like the nature of it is you can't really afford to take time off. Not just because of the workload, but also because your colleagues will suffer if you're not there. You know, up until now, my husband has to say, you're not fine, stay home.
Sure.
Because literally your mind is always like, okay, but if I'm not there, then it means someone has to cover me, which takes them away from their post. You know, so like there's a lot of that you feel like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And as a result, then you will have burnout because now you're going on and on and on, even when you're not well physically or mentally. So for me, I don't think it's that I went through like any form of depression or anxiety, but I think I borderlined with the burnout.
Sure.
Because it does get to you, but also just having to deal with a lot of situations when it comes to people's emotions. And I mean like people losing family members, and you kind of have to be like, you let them know, and then you kind of move on to something else. Then you can't really dwell on it. Then a child you need to raise as a child. Like it's just that where it's like there's a lot of emotional things that happen that you can't really fully engage in, but at some point it does come back. And that burnout also comes from that like it's just, you carry a lot.
Yeah.
In your mind, you're just like, what could I have done differently for that person? You know, what could I have done differently to save that life? And you carry that with you. Like you can't not carry it with you because we're human, you know, at the end of the day. So I think that's been my experience. That is just, and I think it's another thing where I feel like psychiatry made a lot more sense for me because I can't deal with like death. And I know it's weird, right? But I can't deal with death like that. Where, for example, specialties like internal medicine, like the people usually come once they are like really sick, like on death's door, because they had to go through a clinic, or they didn't want to come, or they went to traditional healers or whatever. And it's just like, I'm sorry, I can't, like for me, that's not the kind of space that I'd want to be in every day.
It does sound traumatic when you put it. It's interesting to see that not all doctors are attracted to that kind of practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how, so there's the doctor-patient relationship, but there's also the fact that a doctor has a life. How was doing your how did doing your internship affect all other relationships in your life? How were you able to show up, or you were just always it's just too busy? What was your life, work-life balance,
I think
if there is?
internship I didn't have, but I tried. You know, like my policies, I don't work on my birthday. Like, you know, you'll never catch me at work on my birthday. No. So like with things like that, like I'd make sure I go away. Like I'm just, don't call me, don't talk to me. I don't exist.
I'm unavailable, please.
Yeah. So that's one thing that I've always made for myself, that this is the one day in the year that is about you. I mean,
just one.
Like just one
Surely
day in the
things
whole
will not
year.
fall apart.
You know. So, but I think, like, I remember, like, I haven't spent Christmas at home since I left home since I graduated. That's what I was last time I spent Christmas at home. So because then when Christmas comes, you're working, or either you're working the day before, the day after, but it's not practical to go home and be with your family.
Yeah.
So it's things like that where you just realize, oh my God, this is my life now, you know. And with friends, like my friends were posted in all over South Africa. Like, so it also it became difficult, you know, to also practically see each other all the time. But we would also then try and have like trips and stuff together just to make sure that we are at least seeing each other.
Yeah.
You know, outside of talking to each other, obviously. So you kind of don't have a life, especially in internship, because you are like the bottom, you know.
Yeah.
So you don't even have a say on, sometimes even things like leave, you don't even have a say, like it's assigned, you know.
Sure.
So in some places, that's how it is. Like you just do what you're told.
It's like, oh, I'm on leave now.
Exactly. You know. So, but as you grow, it gets better in terms of like, obviously now you can say when you want to go and leave, and, you know, obviously going into a specialty, things become a lot more common. Not that it's easier, but it just gets, you grow when you are a lot better in handling it, and also adjusting and balancing your life becomes better because now you are used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where were you placed for your ComServe?
I was placed in Mpumalanga, in Standerton, which is 2 hours away from Joburg. And I was married at the time already.
Sure.
So yeah, it was hectic. I also can't remember most of it. Then I was pregnant as well.
Oh.
So there's just a lot.
It was a field one.
It was a lot.
Sure.
But I remember that year was tough. That year was tough because the working environment was not the greatest in terms of the support. I guess also coming from internship where they have to supervise you because you have to be signed off. Community service is different because now it's like you are the doctor in charge of the whole ward alone. You can ask for advice if you need to, but you kind of need to make decisions every day. You can't ask for advice every single day. You know, you kind of need to like, you know, make decisions. For me, I felt like it almost killed my spirit. Like I almost felt like medicine is not for me because this is not okay. But that had to do with the specific hospital I was in. And I just felt like I'm not making a difference because resources, because no one cares, you know, like there's just a lot of systematic factors that are kind of just making it hard for you to actually do your job properly. And for me, I felt like, then what's the point? Like, why must I wake up and come to work every day?
Sure.
If you want to make a difference in your life, but then you find that, oh, sorry, the doctor in the other hospital won't accept the patient. Not because they can't, just because they
don't want.
You know, like, and this is like, for the patient, it's like,
sure,
you'll see the doctor in 6 months or whatever, you know. So it's like those things, those bureaucratic things where you're just like, what's the point, you know? But thankfully, immediately after my ComServe, I started my medical officer time in psychiatry. And that was my saving grace.
Okay.
Because then I was like, thank God. This is what I want to do. And I got into it. I feel like if I hadn't, I don't know if I would have continued. I don't know. Because I really was like that finished after community service. So it was a lot.
Tell me about the So at that time, at that point, ComServe, did you already know that I'm going psychiatry?
I've always known, like since fourth year, I've known that I wanted to do psychiatry. Like,
never changed.
No, I never changed. And funny enough, I never really got to do any form of psychiatry in my community service because there wasn't really much exposure in that essence. But I still knew that this is what I wanted to do. So then after community service, and you're not bound to the government anymore, you can apply anywhere. So I applied for a medical officer post in psychiatry. Thankfully, I got it. And then I moved back. Well, then I was working in Joburg.
Back this side. And can you explain to us what it means to be a medical officer in psychiatry? What are you dealing with? You were explaining now to someone in high school who says they want to become a doctor, and their view of this profession is, I'm in scrubs, or I'm opening a surgeon of my own. We don't know about the psychiatry element. What is that?
Okay, so psychiatry is basically how can I put it? It's basically the doctors that look after your mental health. But specifically for us psychiatrists, it's the interaction of your physical health with your mental well-being. So I know because people always ask psychologists, psychiatry, what's the difference? Psychiatrists are medical doctors. You've trained to be a medical doctor. So you obviously know the nuances of the physical impact, of different things, whether it's the chemicals in your brain, whether it's a specific illness that's affecting your body, and how that impacts on your mental well-being or your mental health. So that's basically what we do. We are the people that come and say, okay, if someone is like let's say if you've got depression, we'll be like, okay, but what is the reason you have that depression?
Sure.
Is it because maybe you've got an underlying medical condition? Is it because maybe that definitely is like a stressor that we've identified that maybe a psychologist can help you deal with it and help you cope with it? Is it because there's just purely a chemical imbalance in your brain causing that? Is there a tumor? Is there something else? So that's what we do. So we try and figure out the why. We may not always have the answer, but we try and figure out the why.
Yeah. Okay. And what's the process of becoming, because you did mention that you are in training. So what's that process? What does that process actually look like? So
as a medical officer, you can be a medical officer in any department. So I specifically worked in psychiatry department. And then from being a medical officer, then you apply for a registrar post, which is then a specializing post. So then that's when you are being trained to be a specialist in that field. So that is, it also entails you doing your master's as well. So you have to be under university. So each hospital, you get a registrar post, but it has to be affiliated with the university in that circuit. So then obviously for us in Joburg, it would be Wits University. So you are a postgrad student in essence, doing your master's. And then also you are a registrar, meaning on the field, you are working in the department, fulfilling duties, but also you are in training. So you're getting lectured, you're getting exposure, you're getting different types of training in that field. So that by the end of your 4 or 5 year training, you are a specialist in that field.
Sure. And so the exams you are writing are basically for the master's program, not necessarily.
No, so you have to register with the College of Medicine as a specialist. That's the exam that you write. The master's is your thesis. So that's how you get the master's,
Okay. Interesting. You also have another career that we will touch on. What you guys see here is Dr. Zama, Dlamini Manana, but it should read Pastor, Doctor. When did you get into ministry?
Officially, I was ordained a pastor just before COVID in 2020.
Sure.
literally a week before COVID.
Yeah. Get in here.
Yeah, but I did get married to my husband in 2018. He was already a pastor.
Okay.
So he had been pastoring the church for a long time before we got married. So yeah, like, I don't know. I grew up in the church.
Okay.
All I know is the church.
It's the church.
I don't know any other life. And my parents, it was never a question of whether you want to or not. It's just, this is what we're doing.
Sunday, we're there.
Exactly. So for me, it's not like I feel out of place being in church. Like, this is all I've known. And also, I grew up as a child who was always serving, like, in whatever shape or form. I remember there's like a picture, I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
I can't remember how old I was, but I was holding a microphone. And when my son saw it, he's like, "Were you singing?" I was like, "No, I wish. I wish I could sing."
Yeah.
But no, I think I was narrating. So I'd always, since I was maybe 4 or 5 years old, I've always been serving in church. So like, we'd have, when you have Sunday school and you've got like that end of year Christmas thing.
Yes, the sketch.
So I was always the narrator in those sketches.
Yeah.
So then I think at some point I was in the dance team. At some point I was in the choir. But my desire was always to do something in the house of the Lord.
Sure.
So when this came, I think it wasn't a shocker. Like, it was like, I've always known this is...
Okay. You've always known everything about yourself.
Yes.
You've always been clear.
You could say that. But I think it has to be, because the way that I am, I think God knows that if he doesn't say I must do it, I'm not going to do it. So I have to have that conviction that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and then I'll do it. If I don't have it, then it's kind of like, let me wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. And how has, I don't know if there is a balance, but how has balancing ministry and the professional career?
I never know the answer to that question.
You just...
I honestly, but I think for me, it's always about what is important at that time. I don't think, well, for me, I know some people maybe can find a balance, but for me, I don't think I can ever say that I have a balance. Like, I'm like, you know, but for me, it's like, okay, so you have all of these roles and all of these things that you do. At this moment in time, which ball can you not drop? Like, which one can you absolutely not drop because it is going to crack if it does? Which one can you afford to let bounce away for now? And then you grab it at another time. So that's, for me, that's how I approach my life. Because also outside of ministry, there's also my kids, you know? So it's like, okay, at this point in my life, maybe I can afford to maybe let this, maybe chill a bit. Yes, I'm here, but, for example, now I was writing exams and I'm not fully there in church. Well, I am in church, but like, I'm not participating in a lot of things as I would like to, because I have to focus on this point. So that can take a bit of a rest for now. But obviously after exams, when we have to pick up, because that has now, where kids are concerned, you need to be present. But there are some days where you're like, I kind of have to be studying for exams. So then you let someone else help with that. So it's always that at this point in my life, what needs me the most. Yeah.
Are you proud of this, Zama? The one that is in high school?
I am, man. I am.
Would you have done anything differently?
Would I have done anything differently? I don't know. I don't know. And I say that because it's actually been tough. I think the toughest thing for me, like, especially in this journey of specializing, is kids in the mix. So that's why I'm like, I don't know. So I had my firstborn just after ComServe, just before I started specializing. Okay. And then I had my daughter in between, right? So 2 years ago.
Sure.
And that was hectic. I won't even lie. So I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I would wait and have them after.
Yeah.
Or if I would have I still appreciate the fact that I have them because then I'm like, when I'm done with everything.
Everything.
So I can like enjoy my life,
Yes.
you know. But also I can't take away from how difficult it's been. Because I want to be a present mom. Like I don't want to, you know. So I think it's also just the pressure that I've added on myself that it's like I really want to just be there. But it's like practically, can you be there all the time? When you are on call in the hospital, like some nights you're not at home. So like it's, you know, it's that. So I genuinely don't know if I would have done it the same way.
Yeah.
But I'm also not mad about it.
It's fine. It's happened.
Yeah,
Let's deal with it as it is.
And yeah.
Yeah. Okay. My final question. This is for me. It's not for you guys. What does your name mean?
Zama. My name is actually in Zulu. Because the part of Swaziland where my dad is from is closer to KZN, so they speak isiZulu in that part.
Okay.
So my name means Izintombi Zama Hlubi, and Hlubi is basically part of the Isthakazelo, the praise name Yaga Dlamini.
Okay.
So that's in Siswati it would be Tema Hlubi.
Yes.
So
okay.
I
think it's such a beautiful name, so I had to ask.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I hope to the listener and to the viewer at home in your car, you've enjoyed the session with us. See you again next week. And thank you so much for continuing to watch, continuing to engage in our comment sections. We really appreciate it and would like to encourage you to continue to engage. It affirms that we are doing something right and encourages us to continue to do something right. With that said, we're done.
Thank you for having me.